Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I'm your host, Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, 31 Days of Horror Volume 7, Day 28, live and direct. Alright, guys, we're going to take it back to the 40s, and that completes my film from every decade from the 30s up. So I figured, since we're doing a top 10 of 1941, I was like, might as well just do a film from 1941, at least one I haven't seen. Now, there's not a whole lot of horror films from the year 1941. I think there's really only like 11 or 12, to be honest. It's kind of a strange thing. But this is one I'd never seen, and of course, starring one of my favorites of that generation, actually of all time. I really like this guy. Bela Lugosi is one of my all-time favorites, and that is Invisible Ghost, released by Kino. One I'd never seen. It took me so long to finally get a copy of this. I've actually had this one in my Amazon cart for so many years, or ever since the Blu-ray came out, probably a few years back, and just finally pulled the trigger. I'm like, I need one from the 40s, and I'm like, 41, perfect. Produced by Sam Katzman, which was like the first, it even says this is the first of 9 pictures that he did for Monogram Pictures. I'm not sure exactly which ones those were, besides maybe Earth First. Flying Saucers, which is a fun movie. It Came From Beneath the Sea, which is classic. I know he also produced Voodoo Man. The Corpse Vanishes. I'm not sure if those are part of that deal, but I know he produced those movies. And of course, directed by Joseph H. Lewis, who is known for doing a lot of movies. So, but yeah, 1941, Bela Lugosi. Synopsis on this one. Basically, this one is about Bela Lugosi plays a doctor, a very broken man. He is dealing with the loss of what he thinks is the loss of his wife. She was recently in a car accident, and he was told that she had passed away. But we learned very quick, and this is not a spoiler, that she is actually not alive, or she's not actually dead. She is alive, and she's being taken care of basically out in their like garage or guest house or something like that by the gardener. She had suffered severe brain damage, and the excuse to tell Bela Lugosi's character that she was dead was that they didn't want him to see her in that state because she was all messed up and stuff. So they basically just told him that she was dead. I'm not entirely sure what's better, to lie to him and have his wife alive and stuff. So anyways, he's a very, very broken man, and like he's having dinner and he's like talking to his dead wife and stuff. He lives in this house with all of his servants, and his daughter also lives there. She's dating this dude. So there's a lot of characters, a lot of things that are going on. But meanwhile, people start dying in this house. Like, people start getting picked off like one by one, and nobody has any idea of what's going on. We soon learn, again, not a spoiler, what is happening is that his wife is actually sneaking out of the house at nighttime just to kind of peek in through the window. And when she looks at Bela Lugosi, he gets hypnotized, and then he turns into a serial killer. He starts killing people. So the whole movie is basically them trying to figure out who exactly is doing these killings and why and stuff. And he's like the main investigator on this and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's the premise of the film. Now, my thoughts on this one. Such a goofy premise. Like, it's so bizarre. Like, who would ever decide that, like, oh, let's not tell this person that their wife is alive because we don't want to see him deal with her in this state, but but we're just gonna tell him that she's dead. Like, the whole premise just actually made me laugh. I was like, it's like almost mean-spirited. I think I'd rather know that she's alive and possibly could have something done about her brain injuries and stuff. I don't know, man. I just think most people would rather find out that she was alive than be told that she was dead and be lied to. It's such a weird thing. So Bela Lugosi is great in this film. He is really, really good. He's great in everything, to be honest. He's such a presence. Every time I watch a Bela Lugosi film, I'm always like, where's Boris Karloff? Because I know they did like so many films together, 8, 9, 10 films together and stuff, and they always shine together. They always had so many great scenes. But Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff, they were two guys that could really shine on their own. Both really great actors. I mean, I know that they're always known for playing these monsters and things like that, but they can hold their own when they're not wearing the makeup. Like, Bela Lugosi does a really good job in this. Like, he's actually quite like colorful in this film. Like, he's actually like in good spirits, and the way he spits his lines and things like that. Like, it's funny because he's like broken in scenes, but when he's dealing with people and he's interviewing them and stuff, he's very colorful, and he's kind of joking around, and it's like a really different type of performance. Again, it's a very small film. It's all shot in one location, like on this set in this house and stuff like that. There is a lot of characters, a lot of servants and things like that. There's a lot of cliches from 1941. Like the main servant is this black guy, which is actually quite surprising that in this film for the 40s, because a lot of times when you have like colored characters in films, they were always just kind of a presence, you know, they never really had a lot of lines, but he's actually one of the main characters in this film, and he's actually pretty fucking awesome. The one servant is amazing in this film. I think he's really good, which is interesting because like he's totally one of the main characters, like really good stuff. But I always like watching films between 39 and 45 and just being like, it's such a fucking weird era, knowing that when this film was being made, or even watching it in 1941, like Hitler was killing Jews, man. I don't know why I always think that. It's just my way my brain works. I love history and shit like that, but it's just so crazy. Like these guys were just making these type of movies when all this crazy shit was happening over in World War II. Anyways, I digress from that. But yeah, back to the movie. Like it's kind of like a rinse, wash, and repeat type thing. I mean, you know, like once he gets hypnotized once, we know what's going on because it happens like right away in the film. And then it just kind of keeps happening and stuff like that. And, it goes an investigative part. There's police that are involved. You know, there is this kind of like crazy twist in the film where his daughter is dating this guy, and he ultimately something happens to him. He ends up kind of getting blamed for the murders and stuff like that. And then his brother shows up, and then he's investigating and things like that. So there's always kind of characters kind of coming and going. There's plot twists and things like that. And, but this one could have been probably a lot better of a film if they didn't disclose, the wife being alive, like right in the beginning of the film. You know that she's alive right from the beginning. I think it kind of deletes the mystery of how he's getting hypnotized and things like that. I think the script was just kind of a little bit lazy in that aspect, but it does have pretty decent, I shouldn't say atmosphere. It's just got a decent, it's got a decent setting. Like I said, it's all shot in the house. It's mostly like in, kind of the daytime kind of thing. I mean, there is nighttime shots and stuff, but nothing's really outside, if you get my drift. But all in all, it still is a very entertaining watch. It only runs like 62, 63 minutes, which is absolutely so short. But again, for the narrative here, it doesn't overstay its welcome at all, because there's not really a lot of narrative here, man. It's a dude who's being hypnotized, who's picking off everybody in the house one by one. One of the funniest things to me is like, everybody knows in this town that like this house has had all these murders and stuff like that, and these servants are getting killed, and so they hire on this new servant, and she's like, oh yeah, I'll just take the job. I know there's problems here, but I'll just take the job. Like, why would you take a job if every single servant is being picked off in this house? She's just so nonchalant about it. It's just absolutely hilarious. But some of the best parts actually in this film are dealing with the servants and their dialogues back and forth and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. But all in all, it's actually a pretty solid film, man. Again, you watch this movie for one reason. It's Bela Lugosi, if you're a big Bela Lugosi fan. I think he's absolutely great. His look on his face when he's hypnotized is so funny. It's absolutely hilarious, man. I even caught kind of a mistake too. He's hypnotized in the film, and he's walking down the stairs, and he's kind of got his arms out, and he's all like, being robotic and kind of zombie-ish and stuff, and he kind of loses his balance because, Lugosi wasn't young when he was doing this, and but then he kind of corrects himself, but they totally didn't cut that out. It's hilarious. But they probably had one shot. Low budget film, so it is what it is. But yeah, I'm gonna come in at a solid 7 out of 10. I enjoy these films. I probably rate a lot of these ones a little bit higher than I probably should. But you know what? It's fun. It's a fun, quick watch. It makes you smile. It's very predictable in what's gonna happen and things like that, but it's still good for what it is. It's Bela Lugosi, 1941, classic black and white cinema. What can I say? So that is going to do it here for day 28. We are in the twilight of the 31 Days of Horror, so we got like a couple days left here. Again, hope you guys are enjoying the 31 Days of Horror and the season, man. Our weather just got shitty today. So, all right, guys, I will talk to you tomorrow. And as usual, deuces!